Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis. We are live at the HCCTV studios this morning. Good to have you with us. Hey, it's a Friday. If you didn't know it, the weekend is just about upon us. Frank Cooper's my co-host this morning. He's in the other room in our satellite studio. Frank, good morning to you.
Good morning, boss man. Happy Friday to you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to have you with us. You're back in the studio. How long has it been since you've been live in our studios?
I think last time I was actually in this particular studio, I was a cameraman for Dialogue Houston back in like 2018.
2018. Wow. But you did some podcasting, video podcasting when we first opened these studios. And I think you were here in 2019 because you and I used to do some stuff on the original versions of Up to the Minute.
Well, that was Studio B.
Yeah, Studio B. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Studio A has been a minute. It's a homecoming for me today.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you with us on the show today, Frank. Good to see you on a Friday. Frank on Fridays joining us this morning. We'll talk a little sports later, Frank, but we want to remind everyone, thanks for watching us on YouTube and Facebook. We're live every morning, every weekday morning when HCC is in session at 10 a.m. You can catch our rebroadcast on HCCTV at noon, 5, and now 10 p.m. And they can also find us in social media, Frank.
Absolutely. Like Todd suggested and said, we're on YouTube. Just search Houston Community College, HCC Up to the Minute, Monday through Fridays. We're also streaming live on Facebook as well, HCC District, LinkedIn as well, Houston Community College, and Twitter. So check us out.
All right, Frank, stick around because you'll be interviewing this next guest, one of our own HCC English faculty member, now a published author. Dr. Robin Riegler is joining us this morning. Good to see you, Robin. Let's see if we can get you to turn on your mic. Can you unmute your mic? There we go.
Good to see you,
Todd. Good to see you well on the show. It's National Poetry Month as well.
That's correct.
All right. We're going to be talking with you about a new book you've had published. We're looking forward to hearing about that. Frank will be with you in about 10 minutes. Stick around, grab some coffee. We'll be with you shortly.
Great.
All right, we're going to kick things off. It is Film Friday, and we've got a special guest this morning. Carlos Gutierrez is the artistic director of the Latin Wave Film Festival. He's the co-founder and executive director of Cinema Tropical. Carlos, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here this morning. I understand you're not in Houston. You're in New York this morning?
Yeah, downtown Manhattan. This is where the Cinema Tropical offices are.
Cool. Very nice. What's the weather like there today? I noticed it was pretty cold up there earlier this week.
It's been raining a lot this week. Today is sunny and in the 50s. So hopefully spring is coming soon because it's been up and down all this week.
Well, if you ever want to get some heat, come on down to Houston. We'll get you some 80 or 90 degree weather just like that. That'll happen for you.
I'll be there very soon, precisely for Latin Wave, for this Festival of Latin American Cinema.
So we're looking forward to hearing about this. First things first, tell us when the Latin Wave Festival is happening. Is it going to be across town at certain locations? And where can people get tickets to this?
Sure. It's the 15th anniversary edition of Latin Wave, New Films from Latin America, a wonderful film festival that's been going around for, I guess, 17 years because we couldn't have the festival 2 years because of COVID.
Right.
We didn't have any online editions, so we're happy to be back to the theaters. It's presented at the Museum of Fine Arts, Houston, and it's taking place April 21st to the 24th, so very soon. And for more information and for tickets, you can visit the museum's website, MFAH, that's Museum of Fine Arts, Houston.org/Latin Wave in one word. And we're very excited to be back in person, and also because all the screenings are going to happen at the museum. And this year, we have a new venue inside the museum, the new Lynn Wyatt Theater, which is a wonderful new space in the museum. So we're going to be screening films there as well.
Yeah, they just opened that space. Looking forward to seeing that. We'll have the link in our social media posts where people can find tickets. How many films, how many countries are involved with this? And are you going to have any guest filmmakers this year?
Sure. Just before I answer that, the specific questions, I just want to say that Latin America has been producing some of the most exciting cinema in the past 2 decades. Of course, everybody knows that, the Latin American filmmakers in the Oscars, Iñárritu, Del Toro, Cuarón, but there's a wealth of talent across the region. So in that sense, Latin Wave has become such an important platform for the exhibition of Latin American cinema in this country, and particularly in Houston and Texas. So this year, we're screening 11 films from 7 countries, from Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, Mexico, Peru, and Venezuela. And we're very happy because we're going to have 5 guests, 4 filmmakers, Juan Pablo Gonzalez and Diane Cassini from Mexico, Ana Katz from Argentina, Javier Fuentes Leon from Peru, as well as Mari Carmen Ramirez, who's a curator of Latin American art at the Museum of Fine Arts. And also she's featured in one of the documentary films that we're screening.
You're showing 11 films. Do they cover a wide range of subjects and interests? Maybe you can give us an idea of what some of them are about.
Sure, of course. We with the program of Latin Wave, we try to sort of give a taste of this diversity of the region, Latin America, contrary to what many people think is very diverse. And cinema as well represents that diversity. So in that sense, we have a bit of everything for everybody. We have comedies, we have documentaries, we have dramas, we have animated films. So we have a bit of everything. Just to mention a few films, Comala by Jan Cassini from Mexico. It's a very powerful documentary about how the war against drugs in Mexico has permeated kind of the family's fears. It's a very personal story about the filmmaker looking for his father who had been killed. He was a hitman and was killed a few years ago. And then we have Memories of My Father, which is a Colombian film that was Colombia's Oscar submission a year ago, and it was at Cannes, the film, and it's based on a very famous novel from Colombia from the same name, Memories of My Father. We also have a wonderful and very subversive animated feature called Bob Spit, We Don't Like People, which is a very zany film about one of the most celebrated cartoonists from Brazil. His name is Angeli. And I can go on. We also have a wonderful drama with sci-fi elements, The Dog Who Wouldn't Be Quiet by Ana Katz.
Oh, that's cool.
And which mirrors, it's very eerie in the sense that mirrors the pandemic. The film was made before the pandemic and kind of mirrors the pandemic in a very interesting way. It's certainly a very peculiar film.
Tell us a bit about yourself and Cinema Tropical. I know you're the artistic director. Tell us about your role and the organization itself.
Sure. I'm the co-founding director of Cinema Tropical. We've been around for 21 years, and we're a not-for-profit organization based here in New York City, but we do programs across the country. Our mission is to promote, distribute, and program Latin American and Latinx cinema. And so we work in different capacities, and I had invited by the museum 2 years ago to be the artistic director after Monica Wagenberg and Diana Sanchez, and a very esteemed colleagues. So I'm the third artistic director of the festival, and because of the pandemic, this is the first time that actually I'll be in person at the museum presenting the film. So I'm really excited about it.
You know, Houston has such a large international audience. How is the Houston market for festivals like these? Because it seems like it would draw some pretty good crowds.
Yeah, and that's the importance of film festivals. Sadly, Latin America before the pandemic, 2019 produced 900 films, more than Hollywood. But of those 900 films, it's just a very handful of films that get distribution in this country, in the U.S. So in that sense, film festivals like Latin Wave become such a pivotal, so vital platforms for the exhibition of this work, because otherwise it's so hard to catch these films. So in that sense, they play a big role, and we're very happy that local audiences, local Houston audiences, have been very faithful to the festival. So that keeps us going.
With the COVID pandemic, one thing it did was it gave us a chance to see a lot more films and movies that you normally wouldn't see online. Now, virtually online, where you can download it, pay for the service. How has that affected Cinema Tropical and your offerings with getting movies streamed now?
Well, the thing is that there's so much competition right now online that it's easier to ask the audiences to save 2 hours of the day to go to a specific place and pay for a movie ticket than ask them to sit in their computer in front of a computer for 2 hours with all the distractions. So in that sense, it's internet is great for accessibility. People who are actively looking, but I think I'm not too sure it's a good distribution platform actually. Because it's certainly useful to help promote the films and to make sure people are aware of them. But in terms of distribution, it's so hard, and there's so much competition. So in that sense, I still believe in the theater experience, and I think that's a powerful thing of cinema. If I can elaborate a little more, what I see is that basically television ate cinema in these 2 years. Basically, through the platforms of television kind of ate cinema. So it's now a time to recoup the cinema experience, in-person experience, as a performing art as well. So that's what makes it so strong, cinema, that in-person experience, which is tied to performing arts, and even to religion, going to a temple to kind of to be in contact with a higher values. That for me, that's cinema.
Yeah, there's nothing that beats the cinema experience. I try to go to the movies at an actual theater at least once or twice a week. But when you're watching Netflix, it seems like you're just killing time. When you're going to the cinema, you're dedicating and you're actually immersed in the film. More than likely, your phone is off. You're not getting the phone calls, and it's a whole different experience. Exactly.
It's being able to focus on something for 2 hours gets a whole different meaning these days, because otherwise we're just bombarded with information. So if you can focus on something, and I think that's the power of cinema, and particularly Latin American cinema, and these films, they bring, I think they make us rethink a lot of the issues, a lot of what the issues that we're facing in a very inviting and engaging way. So that's the power of cinema.
Carlos Gutierrez, if you're interested in attending the Latin Wave Film Festival, we're going to have some links in our social media posts. We appreciate you joining us. Stay safe up there, and we look forward to seeing you in Houston.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you, Carlos. All right, we're going to turn things over to Frank. And Frank, you've got a special guest, one of our own, who's actually just published a book just in time for National Poetry Month.
I do. And first and foremost, for people who don't know me out here, I love poetry. I love spoken word. That's my jazz. I love it. So moving on to Dr. Robin Riegler, published author and HCC English faculty member. How you doing, Ms. Robin?
I'm doing fine, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I understand that you have a published new book of poems, Night Is This Anyway. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I'm real excited to have it out in the world. It's my fourth book, and I really, it just came out. So I celebrated it in Philadelphia at the National AWP Writers Conference, and that was the book launch. And now I'm back in Houston celebrating National Poetry Month with this new book.
Growing up, spoken word and poetry has always been, my shtick. I love it, but I've never had the courage to get on stage and be vulnerable with the crowd. Do you recite any of your poems out loud? And if you do, what mental exercises do you do to get over the nerves of speaking in front of hundreds of people?
It's one of those things that I never stop getting nervous beforehand, but somehow once I get started, I have kind of a relationship with the poem that's very old, right? Because the poem has been with me for a while, and it's kind of almost like hiding in the poem in a way. I'm not an actor, but I suspect that actors are often nervous before they get on a stage. But if they know their lines and they know what to say, even if they're 100 or 200 people out there, they kind of sink into knowing those words and just sort of go with that. And I think that's the way it is with performing poetry, that there is something that sort of, it feels right because you've memorized it, you know it, and you even memorize sort of what you say before it, things like that, what you do with your hands. And slam poetry is especially, I think, it's appealing to a lot of people because the stories within slam poems, they're just things that we relate to or feel for. There's a lot of pathos in slam poetry, and it really, it's like a short movie, but you see the person who's doing it right there, and you think, wow, I know that person now a little bit. I can connect with him. I can connect with her. And I'm different because I know that story now.
Now, I know performing poetry is a whole beast in itself. Now, actually writing it is a different machine in itself. What creative spaces do you have to be in to be able to write a poem that you want to publish?
Well, I mean, to write a poem, I'd say anyone can write a poem. And I believe that. I believe, I'm an HCC professor. Right? I believe everyone is a writer. And it's just a matter of getting the time, getting the space, finding models, and just sort of going down into yourself and finding your story. And that's what poetry is all about. And you're right, with slam poetry, there are open mic type situations all over town. A lot of them, like right about now at Avant Garden every Wednesday night, it's like it has an open mic part of it. So anybody can go and perform, or if you're shy, you can just go watch other people do it for a few weeks and until you're courageous enough. Getting published is not as easy. And you kind of have to know the landscape. It's like anything else. You try to read a lot and get a sense of who's publishing what. But really, before this book came out, I probably sent it to, I don't know, probably 30, 40 different places. A lot of these poetry books are published in contests. I was a finalist like so many times, like that close, bridesmaid type situation. But finally, it was taken, and I just try to forget all that stuff and just go with the happiness of the moment. Book is out. There it is.
There you
and go. Something to celebrate.
Ms. Robin, you say your poems reflect your personal stories. Why do you choose poetry as opposed to autobiographies or fiction?
Yeah, definitely poems are personal stories. So my book is my story. And I don't know. I think that my poems are unique to me, just as everyone else in the world who writes a poem. You write something that no one else in the world can write. And that's one of the important things, that you have a story that no one else on earth can tell. That's true for you, Frank, and that's true for every single person. We all have unique stories. I think for me, poetry, I think a lot about what one of my teachers told me in our class many times, which was that like sand and diamonds are made of the same basic material, but sand is like almost worthless. Like you can go to Galveston and just get a bucket of it. Whereas diamonds are like super expensive, right? Because they're crushed in the earth for hundreds of years. He told us that like the diamond, we value what is rare. And with poetry, there's something original about the poem that makes it valuable. And I think that's what has appealed to me over the years, to make these small sort of packages of words that tell a story and that, hopefully will help someone relate to me and find something in themselves about it. My poems in particular, they reflect my life. I'm a queer woman. I'm middle-aged now. And so the book that I just published, Night Is This Anyway, it has 3 poems that are all called Night Is This Anyway. And they divide the book into 3 sections. And they sort of take queer life and the way my life sort of unfolded. And so young and coming out. And then I think there was a period of my life that was very difficult, trying to figure out like, okay, I know I'm queer, now what? And then the 3rd section is much more about, sort of having a spouse, having children, raising a family, and things like that. And so the poems relate to certain moments in my life, sort of across the spectrum of my experience.
Ms. Robin, last question. What is National Poetry Month, and is HCC involved? It
happens all over the country. It was started by poets.org, and you can look on their website and find out how to celebrate National Poetry Month all over the country. But some things are as simple as finding a poem on the internet, printing it out, and putting it in your pocket for a day, like keeping a poem close to you. And then they're just all sorts of simple things: writing a poem, giving someone a poem, write a love poem for the person you love, things like that. So that's what National Poetry Month is. It's every April. And for poets, some people write a poem every day, things like that. So that's what it is. At HCC, we have a number of things going on that I know of. I know at my campus, Northline campus, we're having a poetry slam on April 25th. And students are signing up, and they have to turn in their poem ahead of time. And they're going to spit some poems in the library on noon, April 25th. I'm giving my students extra credit if they'll do it. So we'll see what happens. And then on the Katy campus, they have a creative writing club. So let's see, if you go to bit.ly NAPOMO 22, NAPOMO is National Poetry Month, 22 is this year. Every night at 8:30 p.m., you can log on with the group, and they just write for 30 minutes, just like a Zoom call, but everybody's there together, and they're like, let's do it. Let's write a poem tonight. And so there are things like that. There are a lot of things going on all over HCC. They're really exciting.
Thank you, Dr. Robin Riegler, published author, HCC English faculty member. We'll have your info in our post after the show. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Robin. All right, Frank. Frank, I didn't know you were a poet.
Yeah, I mean, I would never disrespect the art form of poetry by saying I'm a poet, but I do respect the art form of poetry.
You said it's your jam.
Yeah,
yeah. So you're there. Yeah. Okay. All right. We got to get some poetry from Frank. All right. We got him embarrassed now. All right. Yeah. Okay.
The right amount of glasses of wine, I'm down for it.
All right. Thanks, Frank. We got a few announcements we're going to go over, a few things you'll need to know across the campuses. First off, Mesa Auditions are happening. Spring Showcase. Free auditions will be held for the next Music Entertainment Student Association, known as Mesa. It's their showcase that's happening next week. They're open to students and the public, but signing up does not guarantee a spot to perform. Open mics are a first come, first served basis due to limited time. You going to be there for that, Frank? To audition?
Absolutely. We'll miss for the world.
Absolutely. All right. Frank will be there 7 p.m. Tuesday, April the 12th. That's coming up. That's the Central Campus Fine Arts Center. Registration is required. We'll have some information in our social media post. Also, the Media Arts Lecture Series is continuing as well, Frank.
Absolutely, Todd. A victim-driven documentary filmmaker who splits the time between Houston and New York, Charles Min has sold films to Lionsgate, and Investigation Discovery, and has placed 25 movies on streaming giant Amazon Prime. He also has been a producer for the hit television crime show America's Most Wanted, and also has worked at NBC. So that demonstration will be noon to 2 p.m. Wednesday, April 13th. So that's next Wednesday. Registration is required, though. Email Michael Cohn to register. We'll have that post. We'll have our information in the post after the show.
Okay, put this on your calendar, students. A Student Success Summit, Achieving the Dream site visit. HCC will host a Student Success Summit, Personalized Learning Pathways. That's happening 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. next Wednesday, April the 13th. It's at HCC's West Houston Institute. If you'd like to know more, we're going to have some information in our social media post. And Frank, there is a roundtable coming up, looks like next week as well.
HCC's Entrepreneur Initiatives is offering an 8-week program led by HCC women entrepreneurs who will share their expertise and personal experience in leadership. These sessions will be interactive so that each woman will be empowered to find her strength, her style, and her vision. Held through May 25th, upcoming sessions are 12:30 to 2 p.m. on Wednesday, April 13th, Boundaries Realigned by Tamala Austin. And we have more information about all the other sessions going on later on in our show.
We've got career fairs coming up. If you're looking for a JOB, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wednesday, April the 13th. That's being held at the Northeast College It's their spring 2022 process technology hiring fair. It's at the Northeast Caldwell lobby. To register, you can go to HCC's Career Hub or on our website. We'll put some links in our post after the show. And summer registration is underway. You can register now for the summer sessions, and fall registration, Frank, is coming up, but there's 3 important dates you need to know. One of them is coming up pretty soon.
Absolutely. April 11th, everyone can check out their schedule officially. April 18th, priority registration for vets and Eagle Promise program members. And April 25th, everyone can register. That's right, everybody. So get ready. For more information about that, go to accs.edu/now to apply.
All right, Frank, little sports to talk on this Friday. Did you watch the Astros last night? They were on late last night, but hey, they won. And I heard some stats. It looks like they won for the past like 10 years during the opening day game.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, especially for a team and a franchise that's had a makeshift and roster moves the last 3 or 4 years. You know, George Springer's gone.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people are gone. Garrett Cole's gone, so to be able to still uphold that tradition of winning on opening day is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, even though they lost Carlos Correa, everyone's saying these guys are going to be in it. You know, come October, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be back. They're still going to be strong. They just seem to have a way with, finding the talent and getting the most out of the players they have.
Yeah, I mean, people forget. I mean, the Astros were bad for about 4 or 5 years. So,
a lot of us remember.
Yeah. So, lucky for us, during that time span, we accumulated draft picks. We hit on our draft picks, especially in the later rounds, and those guys have now come up and become, solid contributors to this team. And, the shout out to the GM and the scouting department for that.
Any surprises with the national championship from you with the basketball national champions? Kansas took it all.
No, I think the best team won between those two teams. I mean, Kansas had going to that final game. They had won 11 straight. They were hot. Winning the Big 12 regular season title and conference title. And North Carolina was hurt. Two of their big men were literally limping into that game, and they played great. I think that 15-point lead they had in the beginning of the game, they exerted so much emotion and energy maintaining that lead that they just ran the gas.
And the NFL draft is coming up. Very exciting time for football nerds who like to rate the players and see who's going to get drafted. And the Texans, got to hand it to them. They seem to be straightening things out a bit, now that the Deshaun thing is over with, at least on their end. He's Cleveland's problem now. They can worry about that up in Cleveland. But, who knows what can happen with this team? I personally still think the Texans will wind up with a better record than the Browns. That's just my pick. I don't know.
I mean, that's not a risky pick. Deshaun is going to get suspended for about 10, 12 games. That's of course, yeah.
Oh, but last week you were saying, don't listen to me because, now it looks like, yeah, that might happen.
No, it's going to happen for sure. I mean, the NFL is going to keep a precedence of these punishments and these laws. They're going to have to suspend him. And then with the Texans, though, at the same time, you have an embarrassment of riches in draft capital.
Yeah.
Last few years,
they haven't had that.
Yeah, you strip yourself of bad trades and giving up quality draft picks for players who are over the hill or just weren't good with your system. Now, this is the time when you rebuild your roster. The young quarterback from Stanford, I mean, he's young. We still don't know what he is, but towards the end of the year last year, he got hot, and I think it serves them right to build around him and see what you have with him.
They've got great draft capital, and they also have a lot on the horizon. Okay, folks, Monday we got Dr. Darren Baskin here. We also got Autism Awareness Month, and that'll be for Mental Health Monday. Frank, we'll see you next week. We'll see all of you on Monday, 10 a.m. right here for Up to the Minute.